I made that commitment to follow Christ in 1990, and I was married in '89. I met my wife. I dated her for about 4 years before we got married, and one of the stipulations of her agreeing, if you will, to marry me is that I would get away from the partying, the drugs and the alcohol. And for some reason, to this day, I don't know. Well, I know it's God now, but then I didn't know why. But I chose to agree with that. I agreed to accept that, and that I would drop all of that and pursue my relationship with her. And of course, I didn't know God then, and I didn't know the Lord. But so my pursuance of fulfilling the things that I think I needed in my life was her, and so that's where I focused through a lot of prayer from a lot of people. We began going to a church again just for the sake of going to church. My wife was a Christian, I was not, and she knew we needed it. I figured I would go just to avoid argument. Once we began going to this small Baptist church up where we live, one Sunday God just really got all over me, and it was a sermon about relationships and our relationship with Him in specific. I accepted Christ that day, but I didn't go forward. After his church was over, the pastor came to me and said, "Would you mind if me and my wife came to y'all's house this week?" Sure. And so when he did, he came to the house, and then he asked me if I had placed my trust in Christ, and I said, I did just this past Sunday. So he prayed with me and led me to the Lord, of course in church, but he went through the whole deal there in my house, and I accepted Christ. After a few years of continuing going to the small church we were going to where I got saved, the music guy left. So they were searching for somebody. They were in need of somebody. I mean, he just left. And so after a month or so, I told my wife, I said, maybe I can help. I never led worship, never, of course, then it was just a piano and standing behind the pulpit, after about a year and a half, it was pretty evident that God really had something for me in worship. And still, I was really searching because it was uncomfortable for me. And I really wasn't sure why, but and I guess it was in '95, I went to a Promise Keeper conference at the Astrodome, and even going, it was just like it was an event. Never been, never heard of them. A group of guys were going, so I went. About 1 minute into the first song, God showed Himself to me. He said, "This is what I have for you. This is what I want you to do. I want you to truly worship. And I want you to lead my people in worship. That's what I've called you to do." And it's like I could almost hear Him audibly. I seen the life and the excitement in these people, and all of these tens of thousands of men that were there worshiping, and I told God, I said, if this is what you have, I want it. If this is what you call me to be in, I want it. Give me everything that it's going to take to do it. I'm in. And so there for a while, it really didn't seem like it was going to really pan out, and I began to question myself, wondering, why would God reveal Himself to me like this and reveal these things to me and say, I want this, and nothing happened? So then I started questioning myself. Maybe my faith is not there, my trust is not there enough. And but what it ended up being was just His timing. And I ended up leading worship at that church for about 13 or 14 years. And and we ended up having a big praise band, guitars, drums. You know, some were surprised that the roof didn't fall in, but it did. But I mean, and it came from just being a true worshiper, and it took God had to teach me what that was, and so with music being such a all those years from 5th grade all the way up till then, I really, music was just fun. But little did I know that God was using that time to prepare me and giving me the skills and the things that, and then the knowledge and all that stuff that I needed so he could just bless it. He could have done it miraculously, without question. But he just chose to let me, look back and say, this is why I did this. This is why I did this. And there's just so many things in my life that I can look back on and say, well, that's just God just building my testimony.